Welcome to the Rap Soul Podcast, where we dive deep into the world of music that moves our hearts and gets our feet tapping. This is the intersection of rap and soul music from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. We appreciate you for listening. Share this podcast with a friend or family member who loves music as much as you do. The podcast is hosted by 12 Kyle. Next up, the Rap Soul Podcast.
And I decided to spice it up a little bit. And the reason why I did this is because, one, I'm doing this episode alone. Honestly, this episode really would be dope if I had one of the homies to do it, but it's 1 a.m. And other than maybe Eclectic, I don't think any of my boys are still up. Well, maybe Baylor. Baylor probably is, but he's 3 hours behind me. Nonetheless, I'm flying solo on this one. So, but this is something, if you're interested, if you're a fellow podcaster, we can do again, because you can just put names into this database. Welcome to another edition of the Rap Soul Podcast. I am your boy 12 Kyle. I want to thank you all for tuning in as you do each and every week. Again, this is the Rap Soul Podcast. This is the intersection where we have discussions about music and artists from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s when it comes to rap, hip hop, soul, and R&B. Simply put, folks, this is the best music podcast that you have never heard until right now. Again, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to those of you who are watching on YouTube and Spotify. Man, check this out. Okay, so I came up on this meme a couple of months ago. Didn't get a chance to do the episode, but I said I'm going to put it on the stash and I'll bring it back and come back to it whenever I get a chance. Well, a couple of months later, here we are. All right. So what happened was I was scrolling on Instagram, I think, and there was a meme. And it's always interesting how these memes become podcast episodes, but nonetheless. So I'm scrolling on Instagram and I see this meme, and the headline reads, "What is the strongest 2-album run in hip hop history?" Now, that's very broad. It's very interesting, but it's also difficult to say because you know me. If you ask me something like that, what's the first thing that I'm going to say? What's the criteria? Because again, is it the best 2-album run based on record sales? Is it based on, I don't know, impact? Is it based on sound scan? What is it? Is it based on how many ladies yelled at the concert? You get my point, right? So there's no, when I looked at the meme, there is no criteria. There's nothing that we qualify this on. So in essence, they're asking for your opinion. So you know what I'm about to say. Opinions like assholes. Everybody got one, right? That being said, I thought it would be very interesting if I would, take on this challenge. And I decided to spice it up a little bit. And the reason why I did this is because, one, I'm doing this episode alone. Honestly, this episode really would be dope if I had one of the homies to do it, but it's 1 a.m. And other than maybe Eclectic, I don't think any of my boys are still up. Well, maybe Baylor. Baylor probably is, but he's 3 hours behind me. Nonetheless, I'm flying solo on this one. So, but this is something, if you're interested, if you're a fellow podcaster, we can do again, because you can just put names into this database. But what I decided to do was make it a little bit spicier by taking the albums that they meant and the artists that they mentioned and putting them into a bracket, and basically pair off every artist and their albums, their 2-album run against each other. And then that way you put them in a bracket and go from there. All right. So before we get into the bracket, and they're not seated any particular way, but before we get into the bracket, let me share with you the artists and the 2-album runs that they're talking about. And these are in no particular order. Ice Cube, his 2 albums, America's Most Wanted from 1990 and Death Certificate, 1991. Very, very strong. A Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory from 1991, and Midnight Marauders from 1993. And if I'm not mistaken, both of those got 5 mics in the source, but that's another story for another day. Dr. Dre, The Chronic from 1992, and 2001 from 1999. Wu-Tang Clan, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, 1993. Wu-Tang Forever, 1997. Nas, Illmatic, 1994. It Was Written, 1996. The Notorious B.I.G., a.k.a. Biggie Smalls, Ready to Die, 1994. Life After Death, 1997. Tupac, Me Against the World, 1995. All Eyes on Me, 1996. Mobb Deep, The Infamous, 1995. Hell on Earth, 1996. Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt, 1996. In My Lifetime, Volume 1, 1997. Outkast, ATLiens, 1996. Aquemini, 1998. Ghostface Killer, Iron Man, 1996. Supreme Clientele, 2000. DMX, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, 1998. Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, also 1998. Eminem, The Slim Shady LP, 1999. The Marshall Mathers LP, 2000. MF Doom, Operation Doomsday, 1999. Food, 2004. Kanye West, The College Dropout, 2004. Late Registration, 2005. Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City, 2012. To Pimp Butterfly, 2015. And those are the 16 artists. Now, before I get into the brackets, what's interesting is for a few of them, quite a few of them, these albums are back to back. They're either album 1 and 2 or album 2 and 3 in their discography, or maybe album 3 and 4. Where it gets interesting is if you take, I don't know, let me see. I think an artist like MF Doom, Operation Doomsday was 99. Food didn't come out until 5 years later in 2004. So that's a pretty big gap. The rest of them, the albums seem to be the back-to-back, predecessor, if you will. So I think that's a good thing. I'm not going to hold that against, an artist like MF Doom if that wasn't his second album back-to-back. You got some people in here like Dr. Dre who, didn't really make a whole bunch of albums by himself. And you got an artist like Biggie who only made 2 albums. And, the knock on Biggie and his, legacy or what have you is that people always say, well, he only made 2 albums. Well, in this case, you only get to use his 2 albums. Now, I want to say something for those of you who are watching on YouTube and Spotify. I have on a shirt that says Queens. If you see the picture, it is my man Nas. I just happen to have this shirt on. Because I have this shirt on does not mean that I'm going to be voting for Nas one way or the other. So that's it. Those are the artists. Again, Ice Cube, A Tribe Called Quest, Dr. Dre, Wu-Tang, Nas, Tupac, Mobb Deep, Jay-Z, Outkast, Ghostface Killer, DMX, Eminem, MF Doom, Kanye West, and Kendrick Lamar. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, because I'm doing this one solo, I wasn't sure as to how I wanted to go about this. Was I going to just look at this list and say, yes, this one belongs, or that one doesn't belong, or this one does belong, or that one doesn't belong? I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to spice it up a little bit, put it in a bracket. I think you're going to, well, I take that back. I don't think you're going to, I know you're going to love it. As I mentioned at the top, the topic of this podcast, what is the strongest 2-album run in hip hop history? Again, it's subjective. It's going to be strictly on your opinion. What I did was I went on the interwebs and I found a bracket generator. And I said, well, hey, if I put these in a bracket and let them go head to head, then eventually I'll come to, deciding which one is the best album. Now, what I did was I found a bracket generator. I put all of them in the bracket generator and I let them mix them up. So I did all of that right before I hit record. They're all listed and they're in my phone. So you'll see me, if you watch me, you'll see me looking down, but they're in my phone. But if you'd like, I can send you the link and you can mix them up yourself, or you can be able to put them in a bracket and do the same thing that I'm doing and come up with your own top the top one who had the strongest 2-album run history. In fact, for those of you podcasters who love to remix it, King, Germ, Eclectic, Uncle Dolomite, definitely Baylor, Britt Renee, if you guys want to remix this, feel free. I can send you the link. That being said, the strongest 2-album run. So here we go. So what you cannot see, I'm going to show on my phone, is that the brackets are all set. Now, it'll give you each round and tell you who's going against who. Again, I just randomly put them in. I asked the bracket generator to shuffle them around. So I don't have any control over how they came out, but everybody's going head to head and they're going to go round to round to round. So here we go. First up, Ice Cube versus Kendrick Lamar. Again, Ice Cube's 2 albums, America's Most Wanted and Death Certificate versus Good Kid, Mad City and To Pimp a Butterfly. 2 West Coast heavyweights. You could make a case that Cube is the old and K-Dot is the new. Wow, this is tough. I had no idea that the computer was going to come out like this. My opinion, again, no, it's not about record sales, not about who had the most girls, not about who had the most money. My opinion, I think Ice Cube's got two 4.5 5 mic albums. You can make a case for him to be 4.5 and 5 mics. I think To Pimp a Butterfly is Kendrick's best album. Good Kid, Mad City is a phenomenal album. I don't think it's as good as Ice Cube's 2, so I'm going to give Ice Cube the nod and give him the victories in game 1. Game 2, Mobb Deep versus Jay-Z. So for Mobb Deep, we're talking about their 2-run album of The Infamous and Hell on Earth versus Reasonable Doubt and In My Lifetime Volume 1. This one's very close because In My Lifetime Volume 1 isn't as good as it's not as good as Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt, but it's a phenomenal album. Mobb Deep, The Infamous, Hell on Earth, 2 smokers. I'm going to give the slight nod to Jay-Z. So Jay wins game 2. Game 3, Wu-Tang versus Eminem. So again, we're talking about the 36 Chambers and Wu-Tang Forever versus the Marshall Mathers LP and what was Eminem's other one? Let me look and see. Eminem had the Slim Shady LP, and the Marshall Mathers LP. I'm not the biggest fan of Eminem as most of you, so I'm going Wu all day. Wow. Game 4, Nas versus DMX. So you got DMX. Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, Is Dark, Hell is Hot. Both of those albums were released in 1998. In fact, DMX became the first and, to my knowledge, the only hip hop artist to ever go platinum with 2 albums in the same calendar year, 2 new albums in the same calendar year. Nas, Illmatic, and It Was Written. Again, no shirt bias, but I gotta go Nas in to win game 4 over DMX. All right, so that's the North bracket. The Southern bracket, let's see, we got A Tribe Called Quest versus Kanye West. Man, listen, Low End Theory and Midnight Marauders versus the College Dropout and Late Registration. 2 Kanye smokers. But listen, I'm riding with Tribe all day on this one. Tribe for the win. Tupac Shakur versus those boys from the dirty South, Atlanta, Georgia, Outkast. So that's Me Against the World, All Eyes on Me versus AT-Aliens and Aquemini. I probably would give this to Pac if this were Southern Playalistic and AT-Aliens, but we're talking about albums 2 and 3. Arguably, Outkast's 2 greatest albums. I got to give it to Cass over Tupac. Dr. Dre, The Chronic, and 2001 versus MF Doom, Operation Doom, and Food. Great albums by MF Doom. Dre wins this. It's no need for me to talk about it. And game 8, Ghostface Killer versus Biggie Smalls. Ghostface, you got his 2 albums, Iron Man and Supreme Clientele, phenomenal pieces of work against the 2 that Biggie dropped, Ready to Die and Life After Death. I'm going Biggie all day. All right, so the winners are Ice Cube, game 1. Game 2, Jay-Z. Game 3, Wu-Tang. Game 4, Nas. And that was the northern region. In the southern region, Tribe Called Quest wins, Outkast, Dr. Dre, and Biggie. All right. So next up, we're in the quarterfinal. In the quarterfinal, we got Ice Cube versus Jay-Z. So we got Reasonable Doubt and Volume 1 versus America's Most Wanted and what was the other Ice Cube album? Death Certificate. Sorry. How'd I forget that? I'm going Cube. Cube all day. Cube's going to win that. Next, we got Wu and Nas in the quarterfinals of game 3. No, I'm sorry. That's game 2. Ooh, this one's tough. I think it was, if you say Illmatic and 36 Chambers are a wash, which I don't, but if you say they're a wash, you go to the second album. I think It Was Written is better than, Wu-Tang Forever. So I got to go Nas. All right, let's take it to the South. Here we go. A Tribe Called Quest versus Outkast. In this region, in this quarterfinal, you have these 2 titans going against each other. You've got A Tribe Called Quest in this bracket versus Outkast in this bracket. And so you have the 2 albums from Tribe. You have Low End Theory and Midnight Marauders versus Outkast's Aquemini and man, this is like pulling teeth. I'm going to give the slightest of edges to Outkast. And it's only because I think Low End's got a couple of skippable tracks. But I mean, that could go either way. You really could it's like splitting hairs. The other southern region, game 4, you got Dr. Dre versus Biggie. Again, Life After Death and Ready to Die versus The Chronic and 2001. I'll be honest, I'm not as big a fan of 2001 as most of you are. I thought the highs were great, but he had some lows on there that doesn't make this album. I never go back to this album. I go back to the singles, but I never go back to this album. So I'm going Biggie all day. So to battle for the northern region, we've got in the final four, we've got Ice Cube versus Nas, and in the north and in the south, we got Outkast versus Biggie. All right, so here we go. This one's gonna be tough. Again, Ice Cube, Death Certificate. Come on, man. America's Most Wanted. What are we talking about? Against Illmatic, and it was written. What are we talking about here? I mean, like, two of my favorites, four of my favorite albums. Damn. I got to go with Nas. I got to go with Nas. Next up, Outkast versus Biggie. So we're talking Biggie. Again, Life After Death, Ready to Die. Versus ATLiens, Aquemini. Gotta go with Cass. Gotta go with Cass, man. Life After Death's got a couple of skippable tracks on disc 2. So yeah, that's where I'm rolling. All right. So national championship game. From the north, you got Nas. From the south, you got Outkast. Hey man, this is gonna be this game. It could go either way. Nas, Illmatic, one of the greatest, my personal favorite album of all time. It's a heavy hitter. It was written a great follow-up. It's Nas's probably best-selling album. Not the sales matter in this discussion, but I'm just giving you some context. Outkast, ATLiens, put them on the map, really. And, Aquemini, their best album, their only 5-mic album. So you got a 5-mic album in Illmatic and a 4.5, if I'm not mistaken, in It Was Written, and then you got a 4.5 in no, was it 4.5 or 4? I think ATLiens got 4. I think they got 4. Oh no, I think they got 4.5. I'm gonna go out on a limb without looking it up. I think they got a 4.5 because they got a 4.5 for the first album, the second album, and then Aquemini they got 5 mics. I still don't understand Mamacita. Damn, this one is tough. I gotta go with my preference. I gotta go with Outkast. I gotta. It Was Written. I love it. It's not as good as ATLiens. Because if you watch if you watch Illmatic and Aquemini 2 5-mic albums and you go to the second album, I think ATLiens was better than It Was Written. I mean, if you don't like it, tough. So the winner of the discussion of what is the strongest 2-album run in hip hop history, it is none other than the boys from the A, Andre Benjamin, Antoine Patton, Outkast. Yeah, man. I mean, Hall of Fame group, Hall of Fame duo. I left my ATL biases out, but yeah, I'm taking Outkast. So again, I would encourage each of you under the sound of my voice, if you have an issue, I'm gonna put the link in the show notes so you can click on it and go for yourself and try to figure out and send it to your friends. It's something great to do. Again, I only did it this way because at the time that I'm recording, it's way too late to try to get a guest on. But I'm definitely open to bringing any of my friends on, fellow podcasters, to come on and talk about it. We can come up with, and all you got to do is come up with, what is it, 8 different artists. So we started with 8 artists and their 2 albums. And so this is a great meme. It turned into great content. And definitely let me know what you think. If you're watching on YouTube where you leave comments, please leave comments. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the Rap Soul Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We drop new episodes every week. Also, don't forget about the sister station, the flagship station, the station that got it all started, the 12 Kyle Podcast. We drop new episodes there weekly as well. We have a YouTube channel as well on that station. If you'd like to contribute to us financially, hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy 12 Kyle. I will catch you guys next time. 5,000. Yeah.
Thank you for listening. This concludes the episode. Be sure to subscribe to the Rap Soul Podcast. You can find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Follow the podcast on social media. And feel free to continue this discussion on our Reddit page. More importantly, share this podcast with a friend or family member who loves music as much as you do. Until next time, 5,000.